This is Greek with David Hutchison. The Greek alphabet. The first letter in the alphabet is alpha. It looks a lot like an A in English. We'll write it like this. Just like you might write an A. It makes the ah sound as in father. So that's an alpha. Then we have beta. Beta makes a B sound, and we write it like this. We'll begin below the line with a little bitty tail. And it looks a lot like a B. So alpha, beta. Then we have gamma. Gamma makes the G sound G, G, G. We'll write the gamma like this. To me, it looks like a G with a curly tail. So if we did like that, and just had that part right there, that would be a gamma. Alpha, beta, gamma. Now there's a song you can learn to help you learn the alphabet, and we'll work through that too. Alpha, beta, gamma, then comes delta. So alpha, beta, gamma, delta. The delta makes a D, D, D sound. We'll write it like this. Start at the top and kind of come down. So D, D, delta. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. The epsilon is that E sound as in bet, the You'll write it just like this. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. So far we've had alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, kind of like an A, B. G is a little bit different. We would expect a C in English, but this is Greek, of course. A, B, G, D, E. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. And then comes a letter that we don't have a parallel to at this point in the alphabet. It's called zeta. Zeta. This makes a DZ sound. We'll start up high with a little bitty curly top. Come down to a point and over. Zeta makes the DZ sound. Zzz. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta. Then after zeta is eta. This is the E sound as in the word obey. A, obey. And we'll write it like this, starting on the left. Come down below the line. Then comes theta. This makes a TH sound. It's a circle with a line going across. So we'll write it like this. This is the first letter in the word theos, for God. So circle with a line going across makes the TH sound. And then iota. The I sound as in I. We'll just write it like we would an I. But we're not going to dot our iotas. So far we have alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota. After iota we have kappa. Kappa makes the k sound. Kappa looks a lot like a K, and we'll just write it like a K. Kappa. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa. Then after kappa comes lambda, the L sound. So we will write it like this. Start up at the top, go down to the right, and then back this way. To me, it kind of looks like a cursive L without that part right there. So this is the L sound. Lambda, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda. After L comes M in English. After lambda comes mu. This makes the M sound. Looks like an M. We're going to start below the line, have a long tail. Mu makes an M sound. You may be wondering already, why are we doing this crazy song? Well, crazy songs help us to remember things. You can remember the words to the Star-Spangled Banner because it's a song. Now, what it actually means, that's a different story. But songs are very helpful in remembering things. You're probably a bit scared about taking Greek right now. And so one of the things that we can do to help is songs. They're goofy, they're silly, I know that, I'm aware of that. You're not breaking any news, but they will help. So I'm willing to do something a little goofy, a little silly, if it helps you to learn. And students over the years have said, in fact, it does. After mu comes nu, the N sound. We're going to write this by going straight down and then over. Kind of looks like a V, but this is a nu. It makes the N sound. Imagine if we wrote an N and we just kept that part of it right there. This would be a nu. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu. So we had K, L, M, N, just like in English, kappa, lambda, mu, nu. Then after nu comes the letter Xi. Xi. This sounds like an X in the word Exodus, which, by the way, is a combination of the word out and the word way. So the book of the Bible called Exodus is appropriately called Exodus because it's the way out of Egypt. So we'll make this Xi. We'll curl at the top. And it kind of looks like a cursive E with a tail on the bottom. So we've got a curl on the top, a tail on the bottom. Xi. Then Omicron. Omicron is the short O. Looks just like an O, so you won't have any trouble with this. How do you think you write it? Well, how about just an O? Omicron, Omicron, Omicron. Short O. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, Xi, Omicron. After Omicron comes P. Now in math class you learned this as pi, but we'll call it P. It does make that P sound p, p, p. Like the word Paulos is the guy's name, Paul. P, Paulos. We'll write it 2 lines and a line going across. 2 verticals, 1 horizontal. Kind of looks like Stonehenge. P, mu, nu, Xi, Omicron, P. Then comes rho. This is an R sound, rho. We'll start below the line, come over and make a circle. If you were making an R, and you just didn't do that part right there, this is what a rho looks like. Mu, nu, Xi, Omicron, P, rho, sigma. Sigma is the S sound. We'll write it like this. You start on the right, make a circle, and then extend back out to the right. This is just the S sound, sigma. There is a sigma and a final sigma. Can you guess where a final sigma might show up? It's not the beginning of the word. It's not the middle of a word. It is the end of a word. This looks just like an S, except half of it is going to go below the line. So we have a sigma, which shows up anywhere except the very end, anywhere except the very final letter of a word. And if we have a final sigma, it'll be this final sigma form. It looks like an S. So that won't hurt your feelings at all. So that's a final sigma. Then tau, the T sound, tau, looks just like a T, except we're not going to make a cross. We're just going to put it on top, kind of like you would a capital T. Tau makes that T sound. Mu nu xi omicron p rho sigma tau upsilon. We'll write it like this. Upsilon can make the U type of sound or sometimes an type of sound. Then we have the letter phi. This is a circle with a line going from top to bottom. Phi, this is a PH sound, like photo. Circle with a line going straight through top to bottom. Now we had earlier, remember we had a theta. That's the line going across, but the phi, the PHI, the PH sound, the line goes down. Tau, upsilon, phi, chi. So chi is the next letter. This is the CH sound, like lock. Looks just like an X. This is in the word Christos. Can you guess what Christos is? Here's the key. That's the word for Christ. After chi comes psi. This makes the PS sound like the word taps. You'll write like this. Tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi. And then the final letter of the alphabet is omega, the long O. Looks like a W with soft edges. Omega, this is a long O. Omicron was a short O. Omega is our long O. So there's the alphabet from alpha to omega. So for the whole song, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. All right, so those are all the letters of the alphabet. I want to talk about something called diphthongs. This is just a couple of letters that combine to make one sound. So for example, the alpha iota, as in the word I own, the alpha iota makes one sound, just like in English we have the word aisle, aisle. So if you see that alpha iota, it makes the I sound like in aisle. Epsilon iota, an EI, this word is eirene. Eirene looks like the EI in our English word 8. So a diphthong, what is a diphthong? Two vowels making one sound. Epsilon iota makes the EI, A as in 8. Oi, omicron iota, oi in oikos, like our word oil, oil. We, this is the upsilon iota. Now in this word right here, the word huios, the word for sun, huios, there is a little bitty thing right there called a, well, basically it's an H sound. I'll tell you about it in a minute. So when you hear me saying huios, you hear the H at the beginning. That H is from the breathing mark, the rough breathing mark, and then the we is from the upsilon iota. Like our word sweet makes that we sound, sweet. Alpha upsilon makes the ow sound. This word is the word autos. You may have heard once upon a time about Faust. That's that same sound there, ow, autos. And then epsilon upsilon makes the u sound. This is the word eulogetos, like a eulogy, a good word, or euphony, a good sound. So that epsilon upsilon makes the u sound. So these are diphthongs. What is a diphthong? A diphthong, two letters, two vowels combining to make one sound. Diphthongs. One more. Urenos, omicron upsilon, makes the u sound. This word, urenos, the word for heaven. The ou as in soup. Diphthongs. Diphthongs. As promised, let's talk about some breathing marks. So we've got this, what looks like a backwards apostrophe. This is called a rough breathing mark. It makes an H sound. So there's no letter H, we simply have a breathing mark. If you think about it, all an H is just the sound of breathing out. So this rough breathing mark makes the H sound. Looks like a backwards apostrophe. What looks like a forwards apostrophe, this is called a smooth breathing mark. This does not make a sound. You're going to put breathing marks above a vowel that begins a word. That's where they'll go. Or, remember those diphthongs that we just learned? Where do you put it if you have a diphthong? Well, you're going to put it over the second letter in a diphthong that begins a word. We'll see some examples when we look at the biblical text here in a few minutes. So these are breathing marks. Let's practice now. So here's the word angelos. There is a breathing mark over the alpha. What do you think? Is that rough or smooth? The rough looks like a backwards apostrophe, and it makes that H sound. A smooth looks like a forwards apostrophe, and it makes no sound. So what do you think, rough or smooth? This one is smooth. Good. By the way, on this word angelos, this is alpha, gamma, gamma. When you have these two gammas right there together, it's not GG, but it's pronounced NG. So that's why you heard me say angelos. Can you guess what an angelos is? An angel or a messenger. Okay, number 2, adelphos. Does that look like a rough or a smooth? Rough or smooth? That one is smooth. Okay, number 3, hemera. The word for day, hemera. Notice the way I pronounced it. Is this rough or smooth? Hemera. This is rough. Okay, number 4, hora. Hora. The word for hour. Hora. Rough or smooth? What do you think? It's rough. Okay, number 5, intole. Intole. The breathing mark is above the epsilon. This one is smooth. And then here, number 6, hopefully you're not one of these, although all of us are at some point. Hypocrates. Hypocrates. This is the word for a hypocrite. Hypocrates. Is that rough or smooth? Hypocrates. That one is rough. Okay, we've got 3 accent marks. These are the acute, the grave, and the circumflex. Acute, grave, and circumflex. Here's a goofy trick to help you memorize these. The acute, to me, looks like an arrow going up. And if you see someone who's cute, things are looking up, provided that you're not married, in which case, look away, look away. So that's an acute, things are looking up. Now, going down, the grave looks like it's going down. You go down to the grave. You go down to the grave. And then the circumflex is flexing. It's flexing or bending. So 3 accent marks: the acute, the grave, and the circumflex. What these are going to do for us is basically tell us where to put the stress on a word. We cannot exactly approximate the way it sounded in the first century, but this is what we're going to do with them. Most of the time, accent marks aren't going to matter. Occasionally, though, they'll matter a lot, and in those cases, I'll tell you it matters. So don't worry about it until I tell you, but you are going to see these all the time. I'm not going to make you memorize the rules of accentuation, by the way. There is a book in my office called Greek Accents, hundreds of pages on accenting. So it can be a bit complicated, although there are a few simple rules, basic rules. You can read appendices in books on those sorts of things, but we're not going to memorize all the rules. By the way, you should be encouraged that I don't try to make you memorize every single thing possible. You have to memorize a lot in Greek, but when I can prevent you from having to memorize something, I'm going to do so. Okay, so we had 3 different kinds of accents: an acute, a grave, a circumflex. What do you think this is? Number 1, in the word luo, which means I loose or untie. By the way, Jesus would luo some demons. He would luo some people who had demons. So what kind of accent is there on the upsilon? Acute, grave, or circumflex? That one's going up, left to right, so that's acute. Number 2, on the word to, that one is flexing, so we'll call that a circumflex. Number 3, pimpo. The word I send, pimpo. That accent on the epsilon is an acute. How about this one, number 4, on the word a? That one's going down. Grave. Okay, number 5, kai. The word that means and very frequently. Can mean other things, but that's what you should try first if you ever see kai. Try and. That accent on the iota is going down. That's a grave. Here on the word tone, tone. That one is flexing. That's a circumflex. Here, este, este. Accent's going down. That's a grave. Now, we learned the letter iota earlier, the letter that looks like an I. You can put an iota below the script, subscript. Think of a submarine. It goes under the water. An iota subscript goes subscript. It goes below the script. It would go below an alpha, an eta, or an omega. And so this is what it looks like. You see that little iota underneath there? Under the alpha, under the eta, under the omega. This is called an iota subscript. An iota below the script. When you see this, it's part of spelling, but it's not pronounced. So just pronounce it like an alpha or an eta or an omega. All right, a few punctuation marks. The period looks like a period. Period. The comma looks like a comma. Now the question mark looks like a semicolon, but this is actually a question mark. This will only occur at the end of a sentence. Unlike some languages where you have it at the beginning and the end, we're just going to put it at the end. So this is a question mark. And then there's a middle dot, a dot that appears kind of midway, not high, not low, but right in the middle. That basically functions like a semicolon. All right, a few other marks, diacritical marks, pointing out the distinction types of marks, diacritical marks. So an apostrophe looks just like an apostrophe. If you had a word and you were going to stick it next to another word, and as a result you had to eliminate one of the letters. So for example, right here in the word dia autu, which means through him, dia autu, notice this alpha right there is gone over here. So when that alpha had to run away, what we put in its place was this apostrophe. So in the text it would say di autu instead of dia autu. There's one called a coronus, and I don't care if you know what these words are, just know what they are when you see them. If you've got a couple of words and you smash them together, you join them together, such as kai, ego, and I, and you want to stick it together, smash it together like the Greeks would do, into kago. We're going to stick it right there to say, hey, something happened. And then there's a diaeresis or a diaeresis. This little mark right here tells us you're going to pronounce each letter separately. You're not going to pronounce it like a diphthong. So here's the word in English that we call achaia, a place. In Greek, akaia, akaia. So we have capital alpha, key, alpha, iota, alpha. What's this thing right here? That's an iota subscript. You have that mark right here. We're going to pronounce each letter akaia. We're not going to pronounce it akai. So that's called a diaeresis. Let's take a look at some passages in the Bible, and we'll work on some of our pronunciation. So first, let's go to John chapter 1. In arche ein ha logos. In arche ein ha logos. This was a capital epsilon over here. In beginning was the word. Kai and halagos. Ein pros ton theon. And the word was with God. Kai theos. Ein ha logos. Let's try that again. In arche. Notice there's an iota subscript under that eta. In arche ein ha logos. Kai ha logos ein pros ton theon. Kai theos ein ha logos. Hutos ein in arche pros ton theon. Panta di autu. Now remember right here we have di autu. We saw when a vowel would disappear from the end of a word, we would have this apostrophe right here saying, hey, something used to be there. So that was an alpha. It ran away. Panta di autu egenita. Kai choris autu egenita ude hin. We've got a rough breathing mark here on hin. Now what you're seeing now is that you have breathing marks and accent marks sometimes on the same letter. Same thing right here with ha geganin. Ha geganin. In auto zoe ein. Kai he zoe ein ta phos ton anthropon. Kai ta phos in te scotia fine. Kai he scotia auta u katelabin. Let's see, what is that punctuation mark right there? That's a comma. What about this? A comma. What about right there? That's a period. Let's see, how about a breathing mark on the word in? Is that rough or smooth? That one's smooth. What about there on scotia? What kind of an accent is that? Is that going up, acute, down, grave, or circumflex, bending? This one is going up, so it's acute. Let's read some of verse 6. Agenita anthropos, apestalmenos, para theou, onoma auto Ioannes. His name was Ioannes, John. Let's go down here to verse 12 and look at this word, exousian. So you can see a xi. If we look here at verse 22, one of the other letters we hadn't seen in action yet is this psi right in the middle, in the word pimpsasin. Also, we have a punctuation mark at the end of this sentence. Looks like a semicolon. What is that in Greek? What is that punctuation mark? It's actually a question mark. So stick it at the end. Question mark. Okay, now we're over in Romans 1. Let's practice pronouncing some things. Paulos, doulos, Christou, Jesu. Paul, a servant, a doulos, of Christou Jesu, of Christ Jesus. Kletos apostolos. I bet you can guess what that word means. Apostolos. It's an apostle. Aphorismenos eis euangelion. Notice here we have those two gammas. They make the ng sound when they're together. He's set apart for the euangelion theou, for the gospel of God. So this guy is doulos. He's also an apostolos. This is 2 Corinthians. Let's see if you can figure out who some of these people are. Who do you think Paulos is? That's Paul. Who do you think Christou Jesu is? Christ, Jesus. Theou, God. Timotheos. Timothy. So Paul and Timothy, te ecclesia, to the church, to theou, to the church of God, which is in this place right here, Corintho. Where do you guess Corintho might be? Corinth. Now, I should point out at this point, for some of you, you see this and it makes sense pretty quickly. For some of you, I'm still speaking Greek, and that's completely okay. When you take Greek, there is a perpetual haze. There is a perpetual fog. But what you have to do is just keep moving. You just keep moving. when you go back, a few weeks later and you read that chapter again, whoa, it makes a lot more sense now. That's just the way Greek works. So that's okay. Here we're over in Galatians, verse 2. Want to see if you could guess here. Tais Ecclesias, to the churches, tais of Galatias. Galatias. Galatia. Who do you think that is? Paulos. That's Paul. He is an apostolos, an apostle. Who is this? Jesu Christou. That's Jesus Christ. And Theou is God. Okay, now we're in 1 Thessalonians. We've got 3 people at the very front of this letter. Paulos, Paul, Kai, and Paul, and Silvanus, Kai, and Timotheos, Timothy. Paulos, Kai, Silvanus, Kai, Timotheos. Paul and Silvanus, or Silas, and Timothy. Te Ecclesia, to the church, Thessalonikeon, of the Thessalonians. Now, if you look at the beginning of Paul's greetings, he's often going to say this: Charis, Humin, Kai, Eirene. Grace to you and peace. This is a modified Greek greeting. They might say Kairein, rejoice. He says charis, grace. Then also, a good Hebrew would say shalom. So Paul is both a Greek and a Jew. So Paul the Apostle combines charis and eirene. Grace and peace. Let's look at one more here. This is Revelation 1:8. Ego, eimi, I am ta alpha. I am the Alpha, Chi, ta Omega. That's a capital Omega. Ego eimi ta Alpha, Chi, ta Omega. I am the Alpha and the Omega. So that's the Greek alphabet and a little bit of practice pronouncing some of the words. You're going to be in the Greek haze, the Greek fog, and just know that that's okay. I know you're going to be there. Now you know you're there. That's okay. Watch this video again. Watch it several times. And more than that, in 2 or 3 weeks, watch it again. You'll be amazed and encouraged about how much things have gotten easier on this first lesson. Although even then, just like Paul, you have not arrived. You have not already been made perfect. But we're going to press on. We'll see you next time.